He doesn't know how to record, isn't it? 18 freaking years of training, and you've got it working?
Yes, it's working right now.
Working now.
Yeah, so it's funny. It's all over. You know, someone said to me, STR, what does it stand for? Have you ever worked it out?
No.
Management put 3 ideas to me when they wanted to call a name. This is 5 years ago. They go, these are some names. And we're at a function in the city, and we were up for an award night. And what ended up happening was I said, STR, great, Sydney TAFE Radio. Now, really, I didn't tell them what I was thinking at the time. But my legacy will be living on for a long time because it's actually short for star, STR. Okay? So that was the way I got it through. And no one's ever picked up on it. But... look, it is funny. I mean, look, I'm glad I actually get to leave with a very small group of people around, because if there was a lot of people here, I'd be really, really upset. And Brian,
I'm here and I'm upset.
I know. And Brian just rang me, and I now worked out why Brian didn't want to come to work today.
No.
So now we know why,
So he's
and he's
not
probably
actually
listening
sick.
at home. He's actually, I don't think he's sick. I don't think he wanted to be here. So, it's very, very interesting. You know, when I look around at all this stuff, I remember Johnny, our security guard, we stood in here the day that they put those carpet tiles on the wall, and John said, aren't they the worst bloody colours you'd ever pick? And we still didn't have lights. And then all of a sudden, the studios arrived, and we started putting it all together. And, and then walking in this morning, I thought, well, there you go. It's come to an end 14 years later.
It doesn't come to an end. This is going to live on forever.
Well, it's going to live on, but you know what's weird? Yesterday I was told, and this is how it all ended. We've decided to move you, and you finish at this time tomorrow afternoon. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And just now I went into my office to get my couple of emails. So you know how this is how government works. Don't take offence at any of this. Can we please have your keys back? And I was a little shocked about that. One thing I've learned is not to be shocked about anything from here on in. And I think, I'm glad I actually got to do this. It was part of what I was meant to come and do, I think. Now, when I look back at where I was the day I started here all those years ago, I was at rock bottom. You know what? I didn't know what I was going to do, and I felt like I was an outcast in radio. I didn't fit into the industry. And Brian and I, for a very long time, were laughed at by industry. And when you think about that, well, in a way, that's probably what a lot of TAFE students have had in their life as well.
Yes.
Because they haven't been great at education. And I wasn't great at education. So it's not only an interesting thing to think about why I came here and how I started. It's also sad sometimes to think that the very industry that I'm so passionate about actually treats people the way it does. And for the first time, in my life, looking back, I actually have outlasted a lot of my peers in radio, and let me tell you, a lot of them have asked to work for me over the years. And
you were saying not last week, the week before. I won't mention names.
Don't mention names.
But people who Mr. Starr's worked with, who sort of rubbished him when he was just new into the industry, and now him and our other teacher, Brian, have created Sydney TAFE Radio and done so much with audio production and whatnot that they've created stations and stations and stations across Australia, across the US.
Yep.
And there's these people who Ben used to work for who are now coming and sort of sucking up to him and go, "Oh, Ben, mate, how's it going?
I love it.
Can you help me with this?" And you're like, "No, thanks."
Yeah. And look, even up till yesterday, I had an industry person call me and sort of said, for a long time, the Australian Film, Television and Radio School, the radio department, used to laugh at you guys. And in a way, you know what, I have the last laugh because I leave with a great insight to myself and a great educational template that I've left behind with what Brian and I have created for education and training. And I'll be the first to say it. I think a lot of education sucks, quite frankly. And, I hate theory and I hate bureaucracies, and I work for a bureaucracy. But what I really admire about radio is it's still practical, and television, it's still practical. You still have to have the skills and the talent to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And regardless of whether you can write or you can't write, that doesn't mean anything because it's what comes out of the speakers. And, Marconi and all those guys guys that created all this stuff, I mean, they looked on at all these other super educated people, and they couldn't work out these guys how to create it, and it took someone with very little education to step back and go, well, that, and that, I'll put that together, and in 1895 he creates radio. But you know what, as they say in the classics, someone also said to me today, Ben, you've outlasted the average teaching age of a teacher. Most teachers burn out at 8 years, and you have lasted 14. And you know what, the last few years...
Half of that's my bad.
Half
I'm
of
so
it,
sorry.
yeah. But you know what, I actually think... looking at that, I think they're right. 8 years is a good number. 7 years is a good number. It's probably like a relationship. And you get the 7-year itch. And I lasted longer because, well, you know what? I had to fight to keep this going. I knew there were other things afoot, and I knew that there were other people coming in that don't share the same type of passion or vision or ideas that Brian and I have. And, Brian and I have put in a good fight, and it's funny, even talking to Brian today, I think he will probably readjust the way he teaches next year, whether he does the hours that he wants to do. He's always got those. But, I think sometimes you can only fight for so long. And what I'm now fighting for is the fact that, there's a bigger picture here at play. My new job is actually looking after and creating some exciting things across fashion, IT, fine arts. Media is just one of those. Radio is just one of those. So, I think there is a gift sometimes in giving up and letting what has to happen, and not looking back and going, what could have been? Because you know what? This has been a great ride.
Yeah.
And as I said to my staff yesterday, the only thing that I want them to do is to look after our little baby here that we created. And, a lot of people would laugh at that, but you know what? If I find out that people wreck it, I will be back. And, I don't like people undermining and pulling things to bits. And I think what has been set up here is a very good template to help people discover who they really are. And you know what? I've witnessed so many people in my 14 years teaching of over 3,000 people who have had mental illness discover themselves for the first time with the on-air light flashing in their eyes without the demons in their head. And you know what? Sharon Lynn has even watched that down the barrel of a camera. And what we do is not just teach radio. We are actually a conduit to something bigger. So, it is sad, and it is also fun, and it's also one of those moments where I think, you know what, I never thought it would end. But everything does come to an end, and that's life. And I think tonight when I hop on the plane and head to Hawaii, I will be thinking in the back of my mind, I won't have to answer any more calls and stuff. But as I'm flying off tonight, I will actually think about up there in the sky what's going to happen down here on the little radio station. And I think, if you guys really are passionate about this stuff, and each and every one of you in the diploma course should be teachers, I think you should take up and follow in Brian's and my footstep, because you know what? If I can do it, you can do it. And that's the truth. To be a good teacher, what is it? You're never taught to be a good teacher. It's like being a parent. I never wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to be a parent either. But for some reason, my job is more or less parenting people and helping them.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. You're like my son. and so is Luke, and so is Reyes. But, it's funny. I remember the day you came in here at 16, and I thought, this guy's got so much energy. He's just like me. And why I laugh about it is because, here you are now creating your own stuff. You couldn't do that a few years ago. You had to hit rock bottom. And everybody here represents a little bit of me and Brian. And you know what? I think if you really, really want to do something, which is really cool, I think you could easily teach this stuff. What I've learnt from teaching is some amazing tools that I'll use for the rest of my life. Like how to segue from camera 1 to camera 2. You know one thing that I'm really disappointed about? I spent a lot of money recently in the TV studio because I love spending money. And budgets, what are they about? They're about creating dreams. That's the way I look at it.
Yep.
And I haven't got to finish that little piece yet. So now Sharon's here. She can finish it. And she's sitting out there going, I don't know how to use that piece of automation equipment. And, you know, I ended up leaving this morning to quickly go to the doctor. And why I had to rush off was because my blood pressure was up. And it's funny, as I'm talking to you on the radio, cathartically, everything has gone back into equilibrium for me, which says to me one thing. I was never meant to do the head teacher job because it's too stressful. I'm definitely meant to be in this industry. Yeah. And you know what? When you don't feel well and your health starts to affect you, really start to think about what you're doing, because that is the key. And when I left the doctor's surgery and got back here and sat down in here, suddenly I wasn't feeling vertigo anymore. Everything's gone back into perspective. So you know what? I'm in the right place. So if my new job doesn't work out, I'll be out of there quicker than you can say TAFE, and I'll do my own thing. Eh? So you guys, the mission for you guys is to keep going. Keep on rocking. And Brian and I have given you all the template to do stuff, so just keep doing it.
Well, keep your eye on our YouTube channels and our SoundClouds and stuff like that.
Yes. Which YouTube channel are you referring to? Because you've got a lot of YouTube channels out there.
The one that isn't about the...
Yes, that's the one about mechanics. That's the one we want to know.
Yes, that one.
So it's been great. God's watching over us here. And Amata, Luke, Blondie's walking around. Sean, I'm going to miss it. You know who I'm really going to miss the most? And it's terrible. I miss you all. But I'm really going to miss my chats with Sean. Sean's like Dickie Knee of the technology department to me. Pops up when you least expect it with the most harebrained idea. And Brian, I said to Brian on the phone today, well, now that I'm gone, let Dickie Knee take over. So he's going to help get Sean and get some stuff happening here. And, you know, Sean wants to be a teacher, so I think that's a great thing. That's
you
a great
shoved
thing.
Off and now he's about to take the job.
I know. And isn't it interesting? I started with this many people and I'm leaving with this many.
Well, after about, what did you say, 3,000-4,000
About 3,000 or 4,000.
Wow.
You know what we're doing next week? Actually, we are doing one last thing. Sharon and I and Brian, we've been asked to go in and train Cricket Australia. Can you believe that, in media training? So I've gone and bought... What are those things that they wear when they're playing cricket? The knee pads.
The leg guards.
Got them, mate. I've bought 4 packets of those. So when we go to do our media training, we're going to walk out like we normally are dressed, wearing those things, and say to the guys, look, you know what? Forget about the media training. We want to know how to play cricket. So that we can understand what you guys go through.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for having me on your show. Sorry I took over.
No,
Did you have any other final questions?
It's not our radio show.
Oh, it's not mine
show.
either. It's not mine. You don't have to be a star to be on my show, baby.
Well, I already am.
Yeah.
Well, you've got the same name as me. He changed his name by a D-poll to Benjamin, like mine.
I changed it the first day I turned up here with T back in 2008.
I know that. And seriously, I thought Reyes and Anaya were going to get hitched by the end of the class. I thought there's definitely a Diana Ross moment happening in class. I thought we were all in the middle of a chain reaction. You know, Luke seems to have taken relationships to a whole new height, no longer in Sydney. He's got a girlfriend in Queensland. It's a long-distance relationship. I reckon you should do an interview on that. How the hell does that bloody work?
Well, we might get Luke in the
you might get Luke
next.
in the hot seat. But thank you for having me on the show.
We will leave you to it. Enjoy your holiday in
I
Hawaii.
will. I will.
Before you leave, I owe you a hug.
Do you?
Yes.
Is that DET compliant? Now, you know when I leave...
it can be outside of campus.
Do you know what I'm going to... And the other thing is, one of the students said, Ben, before you leave, can you do one last thing for us? And I said, what's that? They said, can you turn off all the restrictions so we can play our favourite songs on the radio? And I said, I don't know how we did it, actually, but Brian will do that for you. Don't worry.
Okay.
Well, next week
thanks,
we've got
guys.
the Lawso Medal Show.
Yes.
Where we'll have 2 listeners.
Oh, yeah.
I will be joining that one, yeah.
Well,
definitely.
Luke wanted to play love songs, but I think that's for his girlfriend. And I said, you know, late night.
Yeah,
don't
late
do
night.
that during the day.
No.
And thank you, Ben. Thank you so
thank
much
you,
for
Ben.
That's all right.
all
Thank you,
you've done
guys.
for all of us. I'm sure everybody here in the diploma class also thanks you.
Thank you.
And appreciates
And I hope you're doing
everything
some
that
more
you've done.
courses next year, if you want to do them.
We will see. I'm
Yeah.
personally looking at moving to Canberra, so maybe something at CIT.
That's good. Perfect.
So we will see. But
All right,
thank you
mate.
very much, Mr. Starr.
Thank you very much.
All
See you
right.
later, babies. Play your songs on the radio. What have you got playing now?
Don't know. We're currently 20 minutes over time, so we're going to have to...
If you just hit automate, it'll balance itself up. How's that?
All right, we'll go with that one.
Just do that. You watch what happens. Yeah, now it'll just prove it all for me. Go on.
Well, sorry that we buggered up your format.
We're going to play the
But
Drifters.
we needed you in here for a 15-minute interview.
Kissing in the back row of the movies. Hey, that takes Luke back to Saturday night in Brisbane, doesn't it? God, help me.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, thanks, Ben.
Bye.